not the same anymore. Christos me, I SMP. Things are not the same anymore. Christos me, why SMP say things are not the same anymore. Christos me, I SMP. Things are not the same anymore. Christos me, I SMP. 15 ways to be successful, 13 ways to make much money, but the one way to make to heaven, preacher man, you don't preach about it. Last Sunday I heard you preach. I must confess I was confused. Was that church or Gimpa? Hey. For things are not the same anymore. Christos me, say things are not the same anymore. Christos me, I SMP. Oh, oh, oh. Pray, the target for the next harvest. For how else can we buy the preacher's dream car? Yet in the same church we've got Mr. Bwaji, who can't even afford a 3-square meal. Things are not the same anymore. The sheep is being slain for the shepherd. Oh. We've got to walk like the preacher, talk like the preacher, and style our hair like the preacher man. But what happened to becoming like Jesus? Ow. The man who died to save our souls. To my fellow musician, we have changed our message, diluted the word, just to win a few awards. But what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world, yet loses his soul? Just in case you don't like my message, you can't deny you like my groove. To the left, to the right, to the left. Let us dance together now. But things are not the same anymore. Christos me, I SMP. Things are not the same anymore. Christos me, I SMP.
Hi, you tuned into News Magazine with me, Irubaid Ibrahim, and
Nasafo.
To our good friends in Dagbon, we say Imaraba. To our friends in the Zongo community, Sadon Kodazoa. And then to our friends in the Volta region, we say Weizo.
And to our friends from Volga, we say Bulika. And to our friends from Deutschland, we say Willkommen. Ich bin Abna Safo.
Okay, isn't that beautiful? You speak Deutsch?
Yes, I do.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Abna, today is a fine Friday.
Yes.
And then there are a lot of things that are happening in the country. Can you help us through some of them?
Sure. Our first story is from My Joy Online. It says a 7-year-old girl in Tamale in the northern region is bleeding from her orifice after she was defiled by her 21-year-old Arabic teacher.
Oh,
that's a
teacher
sad
and
story.
Arabic teacher.
I know.
An orifice is any opening in the human body.
Yeah.
Your nostril, your anal opening, and a host of others. But in this case, they are talking about her genitalia.
Yeah.
I wonder what's attractive in a 7-year-old girl.
That's the questionable.
So sometimes people think cases of defilement are a bit spiritual, because why would you leave women that are fully formed and go for a child? So it's a sad piece of news, and it also means that we need to break the jinx and speak on subjects that are considered taboo. What happens in the convent where nuns are trained? What happens in a makaranta where little girls are taught by Arabic teachers? What happens in Sunday schools where we leave vulnerable kids in the care of youngsters and all that. And therefore, we need to open up. The issue of sexual molestation is true. And the more we open up as a society and talk about those issues, the better it will be for us to tackle them.
Yeah, and I think some of the teachers too should go through CRB checks. This is a criminal offense, and so this thing should not be repeated, or should not be happening in our lives every day. This child, you've defiled, defiling a child at 7, this is a very tender age, and
you've destroyed her life.
Destroyed, exactly.
So the punishment should be punitive enough,
yeah.
So that it would serve as a deterrent to others.
Definitely.
And it's sad that our criminal justice system has undergone some reforms. Yeah. No crime is unbailable. So even murder is bailable. Yeah. Rape, bailable. Maybe murder, I may have to do a little cross-check. But rape and other cases that were considered serious offenses are now bailable. So therefore, it means you are downgrading the punishment for some of these social vices. And for a rape case or a defilement case, I don't think you should be allowed any bail if there are enough grounds that point to the fact that you've molested someone's child. Definitely. Or had any sexual encounter with a woman when it is not consensual.
I think the authorities should take it.
I believe so.
Should do something about this, because it's a sad story. Yeah. And then the next one says, poor education to affect Ghana human capital. This from Ghana Web.
Yes, of course. The quality of education is very poor. Yeah. And that is why News Magazine is going through what we are going through now, so that we identify the problems and then tackle them. Yeah. It was a huge shame when there was an admission that the cream of our students went abroad to represent us, and they almost, or did, come last. So therefore, I believe it's a shame. And giggle, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't, put in the right information, right content, right method of teaching, then the output of our graduates is going to be very poor.
Exactly, and I think that also contributes to our poor performance in our industries, and also when it comes to examination time, people try to cheat and all that, because you don't go through the right procedure, the right learning procedure, and so you'll have to cheat to get to where you want to get to, and that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, I believe we will be able to tackle those.
Okay, our next one, this is also from, it's about school as well. Say national service, no national service, no job. That's from Peace FM.
I think the Ghana Education Service says trained teachers should serve the nation for about a year. Okay. That hasn't been the custom over the past few decades. Their posting is quite automatic. So they don't understand why that hiatus or a stopgap measure, that is called the national service, may be only a job temporarily. And they could go back, they could relapse into unemployment afterwards. Because when you are detailed to a school, you've been assimilated into the system and you remain a teacher for many years to come. But this time around, just as other people go to other places, go do your service. If we are not content with your performance, then you would have to look for an opportunity elsewhere. So the young trainees are not too enthused about that. But the Honorable Minister for the sector says he's not going to waver. He's not going to vacillate in that, robust decision that if you don't do the national service, then you can't be posted.
But why were they not doing national service? Because I feel doctors, lawyers, and everyone goes through national service after school.
No, for doctors, so you do housemanship. Yeah. Then after that, you become a resident doctor. Yeah. But these are privileged, professions, teaching, the medical field and others. So now that there are too many universities or tertiary institutions and we have too many graduates, I believe government is adopting radical measures to tackle the kind of influx, so to speak, onto the job market.
Okay. And then away from that, we have not increased electricity tariffs. That's from City FM.
The last time I bought electricity, I felt it was, it was reasonable. And then we heard after the reading of the last budget that there had been some, decrease in how much we pay domestically. But those in industry maybe still pay pretty high for electricity. So therefore, let's not spread, false speculations. to make government unpopular. Electricity is one of the basic things we use for our development. People in small and medium businesses and people in big business also use electricity.
Okay, away from that, the killing of a female student on the Medina-Adentan Highway in the Greater Accra region has triggered fresh outrage. That's from My Joy Online.
Since KNUST, the youth seem to have a new oxygen to ventilate their grievances in a violent way. Okay. That was why some of us felt we shouldn't have treated the KNUST protest with kid gloves, because it sets in motion a domino effect. So if others did it that their way and their problem was solved, we can as well do it. And on the back of what happened yesterday, a communique from government is saying that they will do the bidding of the youth by next week. Yeah. So you don't adopt such a knee-jerk, posture in reacting to some of these challenges. If the work has to be done, it just has to be done well.
Exactly.
And people you don't need a protest because before you do that.
That's the thing.
Yes. So government should be proactive.
Yeah. I think people should not protest before you come out to do something, because this has been ages ago. I mean, cars, our vehicles keep knocking
down
pedestrians
people
down,
and killing
exactly.
them.
And then you have to wait until.
And then the rich are not considerate. When you drive a car, you should know that you share the road with others.
Exactly.
Even motorists, people on motorbikes, they are not respected. Yeah. They are knocked down anyhow. Pedestrians are not respected. So therefore, we want to create an equitable and even society. Where, so I would advocate that for every 100 meters, there needs to be a footbridge, especially for the little kids that go to school and cross such perilous roads.
Yeah, aside that, there are schools along that road, and so people
it's a densely populated area, Medina-Adentan. Yeah. And I believe we need to do something about it now.
Definitely. We hope something, this shouldn't continue on that. People do have to protest before initiatives are taken. And then the next one says, remarkable decline in fertility rates.
Hey, are you sure?
Yes, this from BBC.
Ghanaian women.
That's not in Africa, actually. That's from BBC.
There is a word in English, it's called fecundity, your propensity to produce. And African women are so fecund. I'm sure when you even pass by them, they can conceive. so fertile. And we are proud of that. Yeah. You can have a woman give birth to 15 children. Yeah. It's a great blessing. But let's give birth to the kids with proper, arrangement for their education, their welfare, and all that, so that we have a populous continent, but a continent with human capital that can help its development, rather than kids we don't take good care of, so they become liabilities on the continent rather than assets.
Definitely. Okay, that's where we leave it for our trending news for today. I'll take a leave of everybody. I'll be back with comments.
Thank you so much, Abina. That was by way of trending news. Abina will come back to read your WhatsApp messages. We'll go for a quick commercial break. And today, we sit with a very experienced man, a man who has been in the education sector for decades. He's seen it all, done it all. You can't afford to miss the conversation with Mr. Chega. Do stick and stay with us. We'll be back shortly. They need to.
Onipa how ene ne da achenti e na abribia wo sori prayer hwehwe na ahoto ne nso e ma prekope en kukuhwe ase ene wo how bebre ene wo mu wenti e na Kantanka TV ya hwehwe dwumadie foforo kra ya todi se edwasonsem wodwasonsem dwumadie so ne baba pne dwadefo ne abusa wo mo how ene wo mama ne wo mo efa mu na empo se edaw bitai akira a wode pre ahwehwe won da achen ahoto eno ti hia wo nua ba ama adwobi e wo Kantanka TV ne afa edwasonsem enfam bro.
Abodie mu no wonim sɛ onyankopɔn ɛwɔ adoma a ɔde dom ɔman bia saa akyɛdeɛ ɛyɛ nneɛma a ɛboa ma nipa nya ahotɔ ɛwɔ ne daadaa asetena mu nsuo mframa yɛaduane yɛnnua kwaeɛ nhahama ɛne nnuro ahodoɔ mpo yɛ amammerɛ ɛne amaneɛ saa nneɛma ɛyɛ nneɛma a Nyankopɔn de bɔ ɔman biara sɛdeɛ mbɛma emu nipa no anya ahotɔ enti na Kantaka television ahyehyɛ dwumadie sonko a yɛato no din sɛ yɛdiem ɛwɔ yɛdiem dwumadie so no na yɛkɔ Ghana mmea nyinaa ne akɔ akɔfa nneɛma ahodoɔ a Onyankopɔn de adom yɛn ɛne mfasoɔ a yɛnya no wɔ so saa nso ne yɛbɛhwɛ ahobammɔ sonko a yɛde bɛba saa nneɛma yi yɛtumi ahwɛ so ye ɛde yɛgya hɔ ɛde ama nkyirima sɛ meka yɛdiem a na wagye so sɛ papapaa yɛdiem papapaa
Made in Ghana, yɛdiem. Ɔmɛ yɛ dwanje yɛ nyama o.
Yɛdiem made in Ghana.
Yɛdiem made in Ghana.
Hello, you're welcome back. And today we continue with a review of the content of books used at the basic level. We will look at natural science for grade 1 today, but then you can see there are others, mathematics for various grades. And I can see UK 8. I'll ask our guest how much of an assistance we get in terms of content of materials for basic school from the UK government. This show is brought to you by a very solid team. There's proper division of labor. The one in charge of logistics in terms of the books we use all the time is one of the princes we have here, Prince Nicholas Agboli, a very proud son of the Volta region. So Prince, thank you so much for helping us with the books all the time. And the purpose of this show is to thoroughly exhaust some of the challenges we have within the educational sector and profess solutions to them. Our guest today is Mr. Charles Y. Aheto Sega, an educationist, and he has a very rich resume of things he has done and where he has been to. Currently, he's an independent education consultant. At some point, he served on the Curriculum Authority and also served as director in charge of finance, monitoring, evaluation, budgeting for the Ministry of Education. Sir, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
How does many decades, or do many decades of service to the nation in the education sector mean for you?
Well, it means some accumulation of useful experience. It also means a better understanding of the Ghanaian mindset. It also means some deep insight into the education management processes, and also an understanding in terms of how we shape the content and deliver education in this country.
Okay, isn't that wonderful? We are going to look at natural science. Natural science. Science, they say, is the study of nature. Yeah. So for people in grades 1 to 6, for example, what are the things you think the curriculum should predispose them to in terms of science? And we'll get into the content pretty shortly.
Right. So we have a tiered approach to the teaching of science in the education system. And that tiered approach takes into account the fact that science is a very broad subject, and that there are so many dimensions and aspects of it. And let me quickly say that that is why when we get down to the upper levels in terms of the senior secondary school, we have the different areas of science now becoming standalone subjects in terms of what children who want to pursue science would have to learn. But from the beginning, we try to help the children to get some basic understanding of science in terms of how science influences the different things that we go through on a day-to-day basis. So for the lower primary, as we call it, they say if you add kindergarten to P3, we opted to call it natural science. In the past, especially for those who went to what we call the Gettysburg institutions, they called it nature science.
Nature science.
Nature science. And they were learning a lot of different things about science, which were very, very unique to the environment in terms of the things that are directly influencing their daily lives.
For some of these children, those that are not from middle-income families, maybe they were born in a village, quite connected to nature. So how do we assimilate our own understanding of nature into an international system that is called the study of science for young ones at that age?
Yes, in fact, that is the basis of what we call the nature science and the natural science, as we call it now. So it focuses on real nature issues, your environment, the soil, the plants, the animals that you are living with, how plants grow. You know, even sometimes we talk about the mosquito, you know. So the things that are that the children are familiar with. I can't remember the P1 to 3 syllabus clearly, but it is so fundamental that it doesn't go into some of the things that people learn even in physics, chemistry at the upper levels at all. It is so very close to the experiences of the children, you know, to the extent of helping them to understand the things that influence their lives and how they can operate in
we'll
society.
pretty shortly go into the meat of the discussion. I keep repeating. But the quality of instructors, certainly you don't need someone with a PhD to teach a 6-year-old about nature or science. So how do you train people to come to the level of the kids and make them appreciate nature?
And now there's a strong linkage between the teacher education curriculum and the basic school curriculum. So over the years, the teachers are taking through the details of the curriculum at the basic school, and that forms the structure for how they are trained to teach. Part of the teacher education curriculum includes other things that would give them levels of understanding that will allow them to be versatile enough to teach children. But when you are going to teach at the basic level, you are given specific methodology that will allow you to teach that class and be able to apply the processes that will enable the child to understand and to build the knowledge incrementally up going forward in his education.
Mr. Shega, you hear a mother say that, oh, Kweku is very brilliant. Oh, he knows that the chemical equation for water is H2O. Should we be teaching them bonding and those sophisticated things at that level?
I don't know whether that is, from the way from the little I know now from the natural science syllabus, it doesn't include H2O. H2O is not taught in class 1, 2, and 3. You know, again, if it is essential to teach H2O, that is if it is there, and I stand to be corrected, then it is only because you're going to help the children to understand that water, as we drink it, is made up of
hydrogen, oxygen,
this
number
we
of
try
molecules.
We try very much not to go into those things. So we talk about the uses of water, and then by maybe P3 or thereabouts, then you begin to understand what constitutes water. So it's a very incremental course from P1 right down to P3.
It is said that when you sow a good seed, that is when it blossoms into a beautiful tree. And so at that level, do you think what we teach has a telltale effect on the final analysis, on the quality of people we have serving with the FRI, Food Research Institute, CSIR, Ghana Standards Authority, and the rest? This may be putting the cart before the horse. But how do you see the trend, especially for those who, when they go beyond the lower grade and get to upper grade, don't get the opportunity to study abroad. They remain here till they graduate. How impactful is what you teach them at that basic level?
Let me say confidently that the syllabuses that we develop for the teaching of the children is appropriate, level appropriate and relevant to the stage and the type of knowledge that a child in P1 has to know. So the syllabus is structured in a manner that makes it very incremental in terms of what a child should know. We do not expect a child in P1 to start talking about hydrogen and oxygen in terms of the composition of water. We expect the child to know that water helps in the growth of plants. We expect the child to know about plants, tomatoes, pepper, how they grow. We expect to know the child. We expect the child to know about the air, you know, and all of those basic things that the child needs to understand as foundational to his gradual growth in the understanding of science. Now, so to answer the question directly and to bring you to the top, so that is why you have the children beginning to develop an interest in science going forward. Part of the development of the interest in science going forward, again, has to do with the teacher who is teaching it. But we have a lot of our children who eventually opt to do science going forward, and they have actually progressed through the system, learning the nature science, learning integrated science, getting to secondary school, now doing things like physics, chemistry, biology, and then going into the very details and eventually becoming our scientists and doctors in the hospitals. So the curriculum is very rich in terms of the content on which the child eventually builds to develop an interest in
Mr.
science.
Shega, don't you think you are being diplomatic?
I'm not being diplomatic.
Are you sure?
I'm being very, very special. If you call her, if you find some time, and I think that this program should open itself up to getting some of the students to talk about the courses.
Yes, we have that in the pipeline.
Great. So then the children will tell you. They will tell you. And these days, I love to listen to children. I want children to tell me what went wrong. I mean, if children don't perform well, why didn't you perform well? Why didn't you do this thing properly? Okay. And they'll tell you, because I was scared, because the time was too short for me. You know, so you begin to understand what you can do as a teacher to help the child to overcome some of those challenges that affect their learning.
Great preamble. This is content of natural science for basic 1, P1, as we like to call it, 8 units. And the first unit is living and non-living things. I'm sure your grannies still come home telling you why an ant is a living thing. And then I remember those days they would teach us the characteristics of living things. Frankly, I don't remember them now.
Because you didn't continue
living things move, living things this and that. So at that level, how adventurous, how excited is it for kids to learn about living and non-living things?
Again, the first topic is positioned to build on the adventures, the spirit of adventurism of children. You know that children love adventure. They want to explore. They want to understand the things that are around them. They want to appreciate. They see cockroaches. They want to understand what a cockroach is. They see, other things that are not moving around the house like a cockroach. Their mother is holding a tin of milk. Their mother is holding a brush. Their mother is holding a spoon. The spoon is not moving unless you pick it up. There's an ant in the milk. So the children are interested in some of those things and want to understand. And that is a good basis to start them to begin to appreciate even the essence of life. Because that first topic is about life. Life and living and how all things begin to take shape.
Yes, so when I think we can see a few of the pics. So you can see. And normally after a page or two, then we examine them. Is that standard practice? Maybe we expose them to a few pics. By the very next page, you begin to examine them. They fill up the blank spaces. And so in terms of examining their progress and evaluating it, is that standard practice?
Yes, it's standard
for
practice.
That age?
It's standard practice in teaching that after you have taught every topic, you evaluate. So you may not, the topic is even the bigger one. After every unit, you evaluate. So if you're teaching like non-living things, you evaluate because you are helping the children to acquire a certain quantum of knowledge and other things. So you want to find out whether they have grasped that. So when you say living and non-living things, the child understands that because it will become essential in the next topic. If the child misses that, then the next topic doesn't become essential or valuable to the child. So everything is incremental going forward. So after you finish a topic, find out whether the children understand. That's why we keep asking the question, do you understand? And the children will say yes, or yes, sometimes meaning no, because they know the answer to do you understand is always no, or yes. So do you understand? And then you ask a few questions to confirm whether they know that a living thing, the difference between a living and the non-living things.
Okay, and the first unit, just like that, then measurements.
Good.
Measurements and the tools they can use in measuring stuff.
Good.
I would like to show you a few of them. How to take measurements.
Good.
So you have a tape measure?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I think this is a tape measure, how to measure an apple. Okay. Then we have items. Yes. This is a child doing something at a table with a pencil. What is the secret of using crayon at that level? Because sometimes you start using a pencil, a lead pencil, then you transition into using colors, then using pen. What is the secret in that?
Well, the secret is, at every level, there are differentiations that children would have to make going forward. One of the differentiations they help to make is color. I mean, we live in a very colorful world. So the children need to understand the different shades of colors that they see. So they use crayon to be able to express their understanding of color. So they begin to identify the different types of colors that are in the different crayons that they have, and then they use them. So you might even have situations where children will use color for the sake of the color. They like yellow. So when you tell him to draw an image of a human being, the child will color the human being yellow. Of course, I know that some people say they are yellow people, or the child will color, use different things to represent color. So it's just to help them again to understand the diversity that we have in the environment that we live, and to be able to make distinctions in terms of that diversity going forward.
Some kids can be very clumsy at that stage. So you have an eraser, you give the person a clean sheet of paper to do something, then they clutter the whole paper. What does that communicate to the instructor?
You see, Phil, we are mixing levels here. Now, let me take the level that has eventually become part of the schooling system. It's called nursery. Nursery is not a part of the school system. Nursery is a care level, all right? Now, it's not a learning stage. Now, but we have found out that people want their children's motor skills to be developed. Apart from care, they want their children to be, he's the only child in the house. Mother and father will speak different kinds of things, or sometimes mother and father will be there, they will even talk. So how can a child acquire language? You know, so the nursery now provides opportunity for a child to engage and become part of other children of the same level. So one critical element of that process is the development of motor skills. So sometimes we give them pencils, and in the pencils we let them do all the clumsy things that you are talking about. At that stage we allow them to be as clumsy as they want to be, very clumsy, but in that we know that the child is moving. He's able to move the hand, he's able to make scribbles, he's able to make different kinds of things. Now, you can progress the child from that level to strokes, and then to circles, to angles. We don't use the word angles at that stage. Just, change the direction, all of that, So the child begins to develop the motor skills that will be needed by the time he gets to KG1, when they will start doing the real difficult numerals and then the numbers and writing of the digits and in the classroom. So it's a stage, it's a developmental stage. And that's the point at which we begin to understand whether the child has social skills, whether the child's mental development is going as we expect it to be, and then all the things that would allow the child to become prepared for learning at KG1.
That's beautiful. Weighing instruments, some weighing instruments that are so basic. And in a digitized world, sir, some of these are quite too basic, and the kids have, iPads and laptops today. Some in lower primary, you'll be shocked at what they can do with a smartphone. So are these still relevant?
Well, these are items that are very common in the society. And again, see, the whole idea of knowledge is, as you said, be able to understand what is in your environment first, and then you can build on it. So when you see a scale will be of different types of scales. You have the big scales that they use to weigh the cocoa. You have the small scale that you use to weigh maybe the cassava, the tomatoes, the apples. Apples. I don't even want to use apple in my example. The tomatoes, the cassava, the garden eggs,
Why, an apple can't grow in Ghana?
Or an apple can grow in Ghana. I know there are some places where people are growing apples, but it is.
But you didn't want to give an exotic example.
I didn't want to give an example. Yeah, that's right. I prefer things that are common to a lot of the Ghanaians rather than the specialized groups.
Okay.
So we deal with the common things within the environment. So when you go to the market, let's say, you see women using different kinds of scales, or you even go to a shop, you see people using different kinds of things to weigh things and to get the weight of things. So it's important to let the children see them and be able to identify them when they see them. Oh, Daddy, I saw a scale in the shop, and children are very good at that, once they are exposed to it. If they are not, and they have been only exposed to one thing, when they see something that is doing something similar, the first teacher will be the father or the mother. Daddy, what is that? And then it tells you that it is a scale that's used for measuring something in the shop and all of that.
Okay. On this note, we go for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we open the phone lines for you to interact with our guests. We'll be back shortly.
Hello, lovely people of Africa, African Youth Time. This is the show, as I rightly said, that gives African youth the platform to have an up close with living legends who are helping build the continent.
The youth of Africa, they have a lot of potential.
What is killing Africans is our inability to discover and identify our potentials and what we can do for ourselves.
Nobody makes you a leader. You become a leader.
We are not poor. The resources in Congo alone can feed the whole Africa.
Do you want to enroll your ward in a school where quality basic education, discipline and moral upbringing is our hallmark? Then come to Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Basic School. Great Asas, Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences has vacancies in preschool, lower and upper primary, JHS 1 and JHS 2, with spacious and ventilated classrooms. The school also has excellent boarding facilities for students from upper primary to JHS. Great Asas also has a well-stocked library, a school bus that picks your ward from home to school and back home, with adequate security measures to ensure your ward safety. Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Preschool has state-of-the-art learning materials to make learning fun for your ward. We also have the Cadet Corps and a cultural troupe to tap hidden talents in your ward. Locate Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences at Awoshi Last Stop, Accra. Great Asa!
It's a skill. It's a skill, so that's a good observation.
You're welcome back. I'm learning a lot of new things. In our time, when we flipped through books, we would do this. We would salivate a little, but I'm told new skills have been acquired now. You don't open books that way, so the kids shouldn't learn wrongly if they are watching us from home. You may join the conversation. A few of your messages have already started coming. But I will read them shortly. WhatsApp line is 0242817239. But at this juncture, you may call us on the phone, and the number to call us on is 0558-656899, and that will pop up pretty shortly on your screens. So measurement, and then these are things everyday things, the kids do, everyday things, and these are quite basic. These are quite basic. So with the illustrations, who determines the kind of the quality? What kind of review is done? Because science is about precision, it's about accuracy. What kind of review is done before a book like this is approved?
Yes. Again, we look at everything that has to do with quality print. For P1, you would see that the font size is very critical. And if children are going to read this, you don't have...
So what font is this?
I think this is an acceptable font for P1. Again, in some places, for P1, this is a bit clustered because their reading skills have not actually reached that level. So we will prefer books that have bigger fonts than this.
So the paper, the size of the paper itself?
The size of the paper, again, most of these things are the publisher's things. I'm not part of the evaluation team, though, but again, if we want a book for the children and in P1, we want a book that is bigger, that they can interact with, and even the quality of the book. If children are actually going to interact with this book, then they must have a certain quality that would be able to withstand
the texture
of the paper, so that because this one, the children can tear it quickly. But again, interestingly, some of our children are growing faster than their age and are able to cope with some of these kinds of papers. But we recommend that you use a paper that children at that age who are very playful and can even tear, I mean, they have a propensity to just tear they tear the sheets and all of that. But we don't want them to tear them. So we want papers that are a bit hard enough, to resist the wear and tear of the books. And then when it comes to coloring, and you see that there's a lot of color in this book. It's part of what I call the diversification of color and the distinctions that we want children to make at the early stage when it comes to color. And then color brings them close to the item that they are discussing. So it enables them with silver buckets, which they know in their communities and their homes. Your mother says, could you go and bring that silver bucket? When you are putting a bucket in a book, you want to give it a silver color and some of those things. So that is also one of it. I've talked about the font. We are very particular about the font. We talk in particular about the constructions, the way you develop the sentences, and also we are very particular.
So the language has to be very basic.
The language has to be very basic for P1, and again, this is not a workbook, so it is not one in which we want them to write. And if it was a workbook, we would have asked that the pages be harder than this one, which is a bit than what you have that we are using to show.
One proud thing about this book is that it was locally published. Other books have been published in India. The publisher for this is Henry Ejiamankwa, Advent Family Press Publications. Advent Family Press Publication. We are coming to the dying embers of today's, edition, but we will quickly go through Unit 3. It has to do with the sun and the earth. The sun and the earth. So this is also very basic. Very basic, very basic. So at that level, what are we looking at?
Well, we're looking at everything about, again, you'll find out somewhere about...
So time will come here.
Very good.
So they can read the clock at some point.
At some point.
But how many sitting rooms have these clocks now?
Well, this kind of clock is, of course, that's very bad. We use a clock for a clock. What I mean by that is that even in some cases, this is only for, you see the second image of a clock that in addition to this, there's another one.
Okay.
Now, in the classroom, we have prototypes of clocks. You may not call it a clock, that we use for the teaching, just to help the children to know the things that are on a clock. So the essential thing is for them to see what goes on a clock, and then the diversity, the different shapes of clocks will come, because then you have your wristwatch and a whole lot of other things. Now, so for the sun and the earth, two things. They wake up every morning to the sun. So it provides the children the opportunity to understand all this whole issue about brightness and darkness, and then the earth, and understanding of the science of the benefits of the sun and all the things that the sun does for us as living things. So it covers a lot of those issues around it. And then the relationship with the earth, the impact of the sun's, the sun rays and everything on the earth, and how it allows us as living things and its effect on even some of the non-living things that you have already learned in the first lesson. The first topic was about living things. So you'll find a lot of examples about how the sun impacts on all of these things, so that the children are able to relate to it.
We are talking science, Mr. Chega, and you did a lot of work in this area. I'll ask you about the science of the numerical strength of subjects at the basic level. If they should learn all of this for only one subject, would you make a recommendation how many subjects they should take in basic school?
Yes, one of the things that we have also considered in the curriculum development thing is what we call depth and breadth. The depth is how detailed you want the children to learn about something. And for how wide should it go in terms of the number of topics here. Essentially, we have range of topics that is just the breadth of it. The depth is how deep do you want to go in terms of even explaining the sun to a P1 child. There are so many things you won't talk about the sun. You will talk about just basic things that the sun produces heat, the sun helps plants to grow, and all, and you have ended there, you know. But there are so many things that you can learn about the sun because we are touching on the breadth in terms of so many different things that the child should know. That increases the number
sorry,
of
can I interrupt
Yeah.
you? There's a caller. Hello, your name and where you calling us from? Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Kindly lower the volume on your set and we can still hear you.
Please, can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. I wanted to ask one or two questions. The question is, the program, the topic you are discussing, is it something that is being practiced in the government school or the private school, or something that you want to introduce into the system? Because it's a very good initiative and very good idea.
Okay.
I would advise that if it is not practiced in the schools, you bring the government officials in addition to the consultants so that we practice that, because it's very good for the children. We those days couldn't get those practice, you understand? So as we are introducing it, I would advise that to bring the government officials so that they introduce it, especially in the government schools.
Okay.
Because that is where the students are more.
Okay. Okay, and then your second concern, or you will make do with only one?
Yes, for now. I'll call back again.
Okay, thank you so much. So number of subjects, content, what should be taught? The things you see in this natural science book for class 1, does it cut across public and private schools?
Yes, everybody who is offering the Ghana curriculum will have to go through all the topics and units in a particular subject. So it's the same for public schools and it's the same for private schools. We don't have different curricula for anybody who is doing the Ghana curriculum. But if people are offering other types of curriculum, I've heard a lot of them springing around lately, then their content might be different. But if you are running the Ghana curriculum, you would cover all of the things that are in the curriculum.
And so you have no qualms or challenges whatsoever if we teach the kids 9 subjects in grade 1. You were talking about we lump that up with this one. Hello, your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Ampofo Kunto, and I'm calling from Tennessee.
And Ampofo, can you speak up a bit?
Yeah, my name is Ampofo Kunto. I'm calling from Tennessee.
Okay, please do. Welcome.
Yeah, bigger worries. You know, in Ghana, you have men to manage our schools. Let's see the man sitting down there. See the ideas that we have for the nation. But the politicians, are they going to allow these people to run our schools? You see, we have some people who have to. I don't think if a politician like goes off to call a mechanic, to call an electrician to work on for him. If a politician is sick, they go to hospital. They will not call for fire service. So you have men who have to work for it. They must say that they may be in the 80s or 70s. So they are waiting for all these people to go.
No, Mr. Chega is not going anytime soon, mind you. It's not dying anytime soon.
So please, no, I'm not careful. No, I'm paying for himself, but it's like, it's all, it's an adult. Do you understand me?
Yes,
I'm not careful for that.
Yes.
Yes. But my bigger one is, they should allow those who know it to do it.
That's true.
They should appoint anybody just like to look at education. You have men to work for us. So they should allow them to work.
Okay, thank you so much, Ampofo. Ampofo, we really understand your frustration. And Abina will join us shortly, but would you do you have the latitude to practicalize what you know? Does government give you the leeway to do that?
Oh, well, again, as I said, this has to do with a political agenda versus a national aspiration. Essentially, politicians are supposed to not only run their political agenda, but look at a national aspiration.
Okay.
But, you know, in recent times, we have become overwhelmed by a desire to pursue a political agenda which sometimes run in contrast to the national aspirations, but because we think that we have either made a promise or we have said somewhere that we will do something, so we have to do it. And again, I mean, there are smart politicians who say they will do something, and then when they come to power and people tell them that they shouldn't do it, they don't do it. And I can give you wonderful examples about some of them, and I'll just cite one. When Obama was coming to power in his campaign, he said that he was going to release all the
Gitmo detainees.
The Gitmo detainees and all the issues about the harassment that happened when the war started. When he came to power, the inner circle called him down and told him that you can't do that, because when you do that, you put Americans at risk.
Okay.
And he obeyed.
Okay, thank you so much. Abena, welcome.
Thank you.
What do you have for us by way of text messages?
Okay, I've got some few comments. The first one says, I'm watching live from Italy. That one, Daniel sent in that one. And then the next one says, hi, Abena and Urban, keep on doing a good job for Mother Ghana. And that one is from...
Abena, sorry, really sorry about that. They say I should take this last call. Hello, your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Kweku, calling from Kuforia.
Kweku from Koftan. Welcome, Kweku. Keep it short and sweet.
Okay.
Hello, Kweku.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yes. What's on your mind, Kweku?
Yeah, I want to comment on the Medina Adenta yesterday.
No, sorry, that is not the topic for discussion. It just came in passing during the trending news. Thank you so much, Kweku, for your call. Abena, sorry for the interruption.
Okay. Okay. Our next comment says, oh, Ghana, this is so sad. So our authorities are always waiting for lives to be lost before they take life protective measures for citizens of the country. My condolences to the families of the Medina Adenta accident. This is sent from Adenta. And great job, Kantanka TV. This from Moses Arthur. And our last comment says, basic school teachers should be well motivated by their schools and parents because they are really going through hell. One teacher taking about 5 subjects. I salute all basic school teachers. That's how we end our comments for today. Until we meet again on Monday. Robert,
okay. Thank you so much. I think there's another caller. Maybe we'll make him a final caller. Hello? Hello, caller. Okay, sadly, the call dropped. Thank you so much, Abena. That was by way of text messages. In closing, sir, I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to talk some more. Manifesto promises on education and being hit by the realities and the advice of technocrats when you come into power. You mentioned the Obama example. Maybe in future we can discuss that. Yes. But in closing, still on the number of subjects, what are your final closing remarks?
Yes. In the education system, we have a lot of challenges. The challenge is how much do we want our children to learn in schools? And you realize that whilst technocrats and experts are grappling with what to do with this very critical question about learning, we are equally bombarded by other external, interest groups who think that our children should know a lot more than we are teaching them in the school. Now, many of these are, in fact, many people find the school system a location for providing education. Education in everything that we need to do within our society and to help us to behave as good citizens. Now, but we have a little and limited space to operate. And that makes it very difficult and gives us the challenge of identifying what are very essential knowledge that should go into the syllabus and into the curriculum. Currently, there is a thinking coming up, and I'm sure many of you have heard it. There is a decision to limit the number of subjects and reduce the number of subjects. It hasn't finally come out in terms of the real numbers. The information is still going around. The decision has not finally come. But the idea is that let's reduce the number of subjects and limit them to probably 4. Language literacy, mathematics, science, and some will call it life skills or general knowledge and life skills. Now, within this, we can get quite a number of different things, to teach the children to become very useful citizens and to progress in their future pursuits in education. So, yes, it's important. We will come to that point, but we don't want, when we take a decision on this, for anybody to start telling us that, yes, decent work is a very important thing, we should teach it in the school. So many different concepts that come up, and they said, no, it must be taught in school, it must be added to the curriculum, and a whole range of things. Okay. I am more controversial when it comes to this, but I would not go into those controversial areas.
There will be an opportunity for you to dilate on those issues. We had in the studios Charles Y. Ahito Sega, an educationist and an independent consultant in the area of education, and also served as the Director of Finance, Monitoring, Budget and Evaluation with the Ghana Education Service. Sir, with the ministry, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you very much.
And we hope to see you soon.
Yeah,
Until we come your way next week, Monday, with another edition. Stay blessed and keep watching Kantanka TV. Do have a good day.